Hey, what's happening? Good evening, everyone. How in the heck are you? It's good to see you. Welcome to the show. How are you guys doing this evening? I hope you're doing fantastic. I'm doing great. So, if you're used to the shows being midday and having to scramble or listen to them later or whatever, fear not. Because going forward in the future, this is the format of the show. The show is now in the evening. Most everybody should be done with their day. I realize, like, right now it's at 5 o'clock out on the left coast. Maybe you guys are driving, maybe you're still wrapping up work, that sort of thing. I understand. Tonight is a little special. It's a little bit different tonight. Thursdays may come in a little bit early anyway, just because I actually do have a game I participate in on Thursdays. But be that as it may, I think it's a lot more convenient for folks to do it like this. Hello, Imperial Ramblings. I see you over there, buddy. How you doing? So, nothing quite so controversial. Everything just calm and cool and collected today. Let me see here. I love having the two monitors set up again over here, man. I know I talked a lot about it yesterday, but I really, really like having a couple of displays here. Even this one is physically smaller than the one over here on the right, but it's still yoinks better than when it was just this one. So anyway, oh my, that's no good. I'm just going to close that. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well, still at work, ready for Christmas break. Me too, man. You know what? I have some work to put in tomorrow. I don't do the office scene anymore, but I'll tell you something. Between Thanksgiving and New Year's, I told you guys a story about my previous job last night about running Zork on a mainframe that was in production, and everybody seeing, like, the West of House prompt for Zork. But at that same job, it was banking related. I would say easily a tenth to a fifth of employees would disappear around Thanksgiving and then not start to show up again until like January 3rd or 4th. And they were usually top level executives, but we had some grunts in the cubicles who would just vanish. And I remember, like, on some of those afternoons, I talked to my boss, Sean Sullivan, a great guy. And I remember telling him, I said, man, I think from now, that time being like the week after Thanksgiving, until the day after Christmas, or longer, the day after New Year's, January 2nd, the work weeks should go from Monday to the middle of Tuesday. The days wrap at 3 o'clock, and you get to take a 2-hour lunch. Because honestly, that's where everybody's head is anyway, don't you agree? And he was like, yep, I absolutely agree with you. So yeah, work time around Christmas. It is at once, depending on what you do, it can be like the most insanely hectic time, or it can literally be just sit on your hands and do nothing. So if you missed last night's live stream, you should go watch it. It was one of the better ones that we've had. But we talked a lot about various ongoings in the gaming world with regard to TSR, Wizards of the Coast. My opinion hasn't changed. I'm not about to add an addendum to that. that is what it is. When I get more news, you guys will get more news because I'll bring it to you. However, one point of order, which has nothing to do with last night, but it has to do in general. We are now up to 824 subs on the YouTube channel. And I say we, I don't mean we like I've got some production team because, yeah. I mean we in the sense you guys and me and the people who do work with me here on the stream. We are up to 824 subs. And what that means, if you're new to this or you haven't been paying attention or you, I don't know, the automatic subtitles or closed captions or whatever on YouTube have been mutilating what I've been saying for the last year. When this channel gets 1,000 subs, we are going to have a virtual con, a virtual gaming con, the great underground virtual gaming convention. I'm going to DM a host of old school games, some new school games. I got some folks that want to run some games. It's going to be awesome. And we are getting closer every day. Every day I look over and there's new subs. And that makes me so happy because I know you guys are putting the good word out. And I think now that we're doing this in the evenings, as opposed to just kind of do it in the middle of the day in an ad hoc fashion, it's a lot easier for people to watch a live stream. And so for the people who are watching the live stream, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And it's a lot easier to have guests on. I don't have to ask them to take a day off or break into their work period. I mean, I think the last time we had Alan Hammock on, that was like his lunch. Al Hammock's lunch was being on my live stream and then having to go back to work. So it was grand to have him actually able to be here. And everybody who's ever been here has taken time out of the middle of their day or out of the middle of their morning. Skip Williams, Darlene, Jim Ward many times, although I have flexed so that I can get Jim Ward on in the evenings. Tracy Lesh, of course, has been on at various times of the day. Paul Sornberg, Ty Beard, all of the great guests that I had in 2021 have all worked with me on times that they're going to be on the show, and it's been fantastic to have them here. So, but I hope I'm making it easier now. Hello, Chris. I see you over there. Welcome. Good to see you. And one thing you might notice is I did zoom out so you guys can see behind me a little bit better. I was watching the video in the feed. I don't go back and watch my live streams. I don't go back and watch my videos if I can avoid it. I just because I can't stand the sound of my own voice. I know that sounds weird. Like I get on camera and I talk for 90 minutes, you know, anywhere from an hour to an hour and 90 minutes, or an hour and 30 minutes. And I've done extremely long streams also. But I don't like to hear recordings of myself. I think I sound awful. But looking yesterday, I was like, man, I'm really zoomed in. I'm like, you know, passport photo there. And, you know, you can see like the stitch count on the vinyl canvasy thing that prints on and so on and et cetera. But I just thought it looked terribly too close. Like you couldn't see the cool stuff on the shelf of wonder behind me. And it just, I was not about it. You know, I was not about that. So I zoomed out a little bit, and hopefully you guys are kind of enjoying the different camera, the different frame there. I know you can see the console in front of me, the two aforementioned monitors, Lenovo and Gateway. I did Lenovo and Gateway. But yeah, that's kind of the I think the best focus for me, because again, you do get to see the cool stuff on the shelf, And there's no elf on that shelf. If I put an elf on that shelf, it will be like a Legolas miniature. And speaking of miniatures and cool stuff and holiday-related things, it's time for the Lego Star Wars Advent Calendar reveal for day 9. So for those of you who aren't aware, let me just switch over to the other view there. So we have the Star Wars Lego Advent Calendar, which my darling wife purchased for me. She got this last year, and I had a little bit of a revelation last night. Was it last night or was it early today? I don't know. I've been tired. But anyway, there's minifigs throughout the month that you can take out and put together and so on. And we're going to look at day 9 because it's the 9th day of December. I thought last year when I did when I opened the hatch that's got Darth Vader in it, and you guys will see him eventually, I thought, well, crap, there's no Darth Vader cloak. Oh well. Last night I was going through the Advent Calendar game and I opened up Darth Vader. Now, this is white styrofoam, the tray that is packed in this box. I'm not going to take the box apart to show you. You'll just have to trust me. It's white styrofoam. Inside the door, the space for Darth Vader, push form-fitting all the way to the left, was a little white paper box. I mean, a tiny paper box, like a little more than 1/4 of an inch wide and the exact dimensions of the left side. But the lip, the paper box that the tray goes in, forms a little bit of a lip. So I didn't see it. So I said, wait a minute. No, it can't be. So I pried that box out, and it's as white as the styrofoam around it. It was an easy thing for me to miss. There was Darth Vader's cloak. So I got a little Advent surprise, and I was very happy about that. So let us open up the 9th day of Christmas. And what do we have? Oh, look, it's a supporting cast member. It's the merriest of Sues. It is Rey. Now I'll tell you a little bit about Rey, the Rey minifig. Let me show this to you. See if I can get this on camera. I'm going to try to. Anyway, move the mic here. The Rey minifig, if you can see that, try not to knock stuff over. Get that on in the center of the camera. She has a lightsaber. She has Luke's lightsaber. No lightsaber. They're Lego. You can play with them however you want. The proper person got Luke's lightsaber. So that's our Advent piece for today. Rey. And there we go. And tomorrow we'll look at day 10. Tomorrow we will look at day 10. Pardon me. Speaking of holidays, I have an interesting question for you, and you guys can put this over in the chat, Facebook, YouTube. You can leave comments below the video as you like. And please do leave comments below the videos. Engagement is a good thing. Or you can come on over to the Discord, and you can leave a comment there. But here's a question for you. Do you run at the appropriate time of year, regardless of what fits your holiday need? Do you run a holiday themed game in your long-running campaigns if you have them. Now, if you just do a series of one-offs, you could still do that. I do, and I'm running mine tonight, and I'm really looking forward to it. That's why the live stream tonight is a little bit earlier than it was last night with a 9 o'clock start. You see, tonight, I'm playing my 3-hour plus first edition AD&D game. And it will be Christmas themed. My Monday night AD&D group, which has been going now for 7 years, is scattered across the country. I have some players located here in Central Florida with me. Tracy Lesh and his lovely wife, Shelby. Hi, guys. I have some players as far away as Portland, Oregon. I have in the past had Kyle playing on Monday nights, and Kyle's in Australia. It's a little difficult for him to game, but, you know, we tried. Oh, is the music blasting again? I'm sorry. I'll just crank that way down. I didn't even realize it started when the stream had started. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to fade that out. I did not realize that had started when I came back. I'm embarrassed. Well, not that it's not good music. It is good music. I just didn't realize that it had been going for a couple of minutes. I am sorry, guys. When I switched sources from this camera back to the main, you know, from over here to you guys, it just say, "Up, time to start playing. We're switched on." So my apologies. And hello, Damien. I see you over there. Thank you for the heads up there. So I don't have audio over here because it would feed back. It would get caught in a feedback loop. But anyway, regardless of what you do, I was saying, but I have people in the Midwest. I have people in the Southwest. I have people in the Northwest. I've got people in the Northeast. I've got people here in town. I have 11 players and or 12 players, and they're everywhere. So other than seeing Tracy and his wife here in town, and very rarely, occasionally, some of the real grognards at GaryCon, I don't know if I'll ever get to see my group face to face. So for me, the Christmas D&D event, which just kind of started as a lark with a real space game here that we would have when friends came over, I decided to do it for the Monday night game as well. And for me, it's kind of important. I mean, I recognize that not everybody in my group may celebrate the holidays the same way that I do. They may not share the same beliefs as I do. For them, Christmas may just be a secular time of peace and quiet and gift giving and, you know, meditation on the passing year with nothing to do with, the nativity. Or it may be a deeply religious thing, or they may not consider it at all, and they may have, it might just be just something amusing for them. But the point is, and especially last year, it was really important last year. But this is the time of year when people go to holiday parties. Well, I don't have been invited to a holiday party in quite some time. And we haven't had one in quite some time, especially now in the time of Andromeda Strain, regardless of what your feelings about that are. So given the opportunity to do something fun, I did it and I ran with it. And that's that's my Monday night game now. It's a holiday themed game, and yes, there are holiday themes of it. It's about like I do. Pardon me. I tend to it's like a D&D equivalent of one of the old Rankin Bass Magic Motion specials, or a Charlie Brown Christmas, or insert Christmas thing here. It's opened up enough that I don't lean on themes other than just being together with the group. And I could launch into a lot of details. You know what? I'll tell you guys about it tomorrow evening. I'll tell you how tonight's game goes, and then you can judge for yourself if you wish to judge me. Festivus, the time for the airing of grievances. Darn right. If Festivus is your jam, then happy Festivus to you. Or Grievous Festivus. Festivus, a holiday for the rest of us. But is that something you do? Do you whatever? I mean, you say, well, it's Halloween. I know a lot of people that run horror themed games. Sometimes they slipstream them into campaigns, but then other times they just they do one-offs. And when I was stuck trying to figure out where to put the Christmas game last year, Joshua Ford of my Monday night game said, well, why don't you just treat it like why don't you just treat it like an annual, like Marvel Comics would put out an annual, and stuff happens in the Marvel comic that doesn't necessarily happen in the mainstream, like Spider-Man and the Hulk team up with the X-Men in X-Men Annual whatever. They don't talk about what happened in what's going on in that month's regular issue of the X-Men or Spider-Man or the Hulk. Unless they're earth-shattering events in the past, they don't really bring them up. And then in the next issue of X-Men, the Spider-Man, and the Hulk, they don't say, hey, remember last week, yesterday, a couple months ago, whatever, when we were hanging out with the X-Men. So I just did it like, I just do it like a Marvel annual. Who cares if Bob the Fighter is bleeding out on the floor in the cliffhanger of that game? For the holiday game, it's completely different. Can characters die? Maybe. I'm not going to tip my hand too much. I might have players watching this or listening to it. So that's something that I do, and I like it a lot. I quite like it. And I hope my players will enjoy it. They've never complained. The best was the best one here in real life. I went to an absolutely fantastic Chinese restaurant, a local place, not a chain. No, not whatever Instant Panda or whatever, the Panda Express. That's it, Panda Express. I actually went to a local Chinese restaurant and I bought way too much Chinese food. General Tso's, chicken lo mein, vegetable lo mein, fried rice, spring rolls, egg rolls, and steamed dumplings, hot and sour, and wonton soup. And I brought all that back and we ate while we played D&D. That was a lot of fun. Chris says, I would have dug a Rankin Bass adaptation of G1 to 3. That would have been awesome. Hello, Vinny over on Facebook. Can characters die? That's always a possibility. Don't get too attached. Well, I try not to kill anyone on Christmas. It's unseemly. Damien says, before my Monday night session started, we joked about Santa being an ancient exalted, and then he incorporated some of his species and the powers of the setting into his employ. that his wife was a lunar whose totemic form was a flying reindeer, that he had a northern tribe of mountain folk making his toys and gear. That works. I mean, is it any kookier than the origin story told in Santa Claus is Coming to Town? Is it? I don't think it is. You know, I mean, let's unpack Santa Claus is Coming to Town in AD&D terms. The Kringles are obviously gnomes. Look, I'm sorry, they're not elves, okay? The Kringles are gnomes. Their adopted mother is not a gnome. She's a halfling. She's taller than they are. You know, Saint Nick, voiced by Mickey Rooney, human. Most everyone else is a human. The Winter Warlock is probably a human. He starts out as a lawful evil magic user, but he goes through an alignment change and becomes lawful good. I know hopping over lawful neutral straight to lawful good is a bit gauche, but trust me. And he's kicked out of his necromancy circle for it. They find out that he's gone soft, and all he's left with is some dried up potions, stubs of magic candles, short-circuited wand, and some magic feed corn that makes reindeer fly. And I would give that Santa Claus a little bit of druid ability, because if you remember, he got his laugh from, I think, the walruses or seals, and he could talk to the penguin. So he had communicate with animals ability. Vinny says, that's a creepy ass story. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. At this point, he sounds like he has too much in common with Freddy Krueger. Yeah, well, except he doesn't murder you. You know? It's a fun, loving thing. And then on the flip side, of course, we've got The Year Without a Santa Claus, which is as trippy as balls, man. That is... Look, I like it, and I like watching it unironically. I had it on the TV the other night when we were decorating the tree, and I still enjoy watching it. I do. I'm a kid at heart. I like watching it. But there's some genuinely trippy stuff in The Year Without a Santa Claus. You have Heat Miser and Cold Miser, who are obviously elementals, right? I mean, Santa Claus is established at this point, all right? The focus is very much not on Santa Claus. It's on Mrs. Claus. It's on the little boy that travels with him, and Jingle and Jangle elves. And them getting the deal. They go to Mother Nature. It's a very Dungeons and Dragons special when you get right down to the heart of it. Exalted Santa has a giant Diclave, big freaking magic greatsword. Well, I imagine he'd need it to deal with Krampus. That's something I don't do, by the by. Every time I tell people about my Christmas D&D game, they're like, oh, you've got to have Krampus. Krampus kills Santa. And I'm like, so you should really have... I'm not going to do that. That whole, Krampus is badass thing, it's so overplayed. It's a meme. Look, I get it that Krampus exists, and for some people, Krampus is part of it. That didn't come, you know, when I was a little kid growing up, there was no evil counterpart to Santa who beat children with reeds. The worst you could expect is coal in your stocking. So yeah, I'm sorry. Don't. If you think you're being clever, not you guys, my viewers, just people in general. If you think you're being clever and saying, dude, Krampus, I've heard it before. All right. Everybody and their brother has said, you got to do an evil Christmas where things are fucked up and it's Krampus. Now, I'm not doing that for my holiday game. I'm just not. I'm sorry. A killjoy. What can I tell you? So that's happening tonight. I'm running that game tonight, which again is why we're doing this, you know, We're doing this a little early. I know this would be tremendously late for most people. A lot of people would be like, but your stream is late. Pardon me. You're doing this at night. What is going on with that? But that's the way it is now. That's the way it is. My streams are now at night. And I mean, yeah, you know, like so many other pop culture touchstones, you can have a lot of D&D fun with a lot of the classic Christmas Rankin Bass ones, except for the Little Drummer Boy. Now, let me say straight up front, the Christmas Carol, the Little Drummer Boy, despite not reflecting in reality anything, is lovely, and it's one of my favorites. For some people, there's like some people that it just like infuriates and they hate it. But aside from that one, I mean, you can go through all the classics. Rudolph's Shiny New Year, the Eon. Eon's obviously a rock who is lawful evil. Gosh, what else? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You know, as far as Santa, Vinny over on Facebook is saying, I'm guessing St. Nicholas is an elf druid cleric. I tend to go with the idea that Santa's a human, but he's of demigod status at that point, so it kind of doesn't matter whether he's elf or what have you. Now, I did one of the first Christmas games that I ran for the online group was White Dragons had pinned down Santa Claus, and the party had to take out a couple of white dragons, which was annoyingly easy. It's like none of my 2-hit rolls helped. If you're unfamiliar with dragons in AD&D, their breath weapon attack it's a 50-50 shot. So the dragons come in and they're fighting the party. I missed every dragon melee, and I rolled over the 50-50 shot for the dragon to use its breath weapon, which is probably good. The party was kind of low level and small at the time. I think that game I had like 4 players and one of them was out. So at that point, the session had not grown in the telling. So yeah, 2 white dragons. I'm like, oh, this is going to be tough. I didn't pull any punches. I did not pull any punches in the mix there. And I kept missing over and over and over again. And they're large creatures and 2 white dragons, and the party slew them both. Again, I didn't pull any punches. It was one of the most freakish things I've ever seen. So a very low level party, comparatively speaking, took on and defeated a pair of white dragons and saved Santa and saved Christmas. You're welcome. So that's the kind of elements I throw into my Christmas game. My reindeer games, if you will. Now, unfortunately, tonight's game won't be terrain and camera and stuff like that. Just keeping it virtual. But it's going to be fun. I've got a little bit more game prep to do. So, you know, we'll probably wrap up around 9:00, and that'll give me about an hour to stuff my face and run some more game prep that I need to do. Again, I'm not going to give anything away, but it's not just going to be a game session, a holiday game session. It's going to be genre bending. I'll tell you guys all about it. It'll be awesome. Forget Krampus. Have Santa take on a Wendigo or snow? Oh, I already said that. I've done snow golems too. I've done gingerbread cookie golems. The party, not this group, but the group that I used to DM here on Friday nights. The party faced off against a gingerbread cookie golem that kept wrecking the town's gingerbread cookie village and making everyone very sad. And so they got transported into it as a big underglass affair in a bakery. And when one of the party members touched it and said something about wishing that they could do something about it, they were all there fighting in their knees, fighting in confectioner snow up to their knees as a gingerbread cookie monster attacked them. It had been coming to life and destroying the town. So in slaying it, the curse was broken. They were able to remake the gingerbread cookie village, and the day was saved. And I think, like, in that session, I had a couple or two or three other little mini adventures, like unhallowed dead zombies rose up in the churchyard and surrounded it when the parishioners were in for Christmas services. The party had gone through a space and time rift. They were in kind of a non-specific, could have been somewhere between the 1500s and mid 1800s European setting. And so, they some turn undead to destroy all those. And then what was the other one? So I did like 3 in one session. I don't remember. I think the closest I've ever come to actually embracing the religious aspect of Christmas in a game was the party met Castor, Melchior, and Balthazar in the desert on their way to Bethlehem, where they were beset by a sandstorm, and I had a couple of Ifrit show up to try and stop them from reaching the nativity, and the party helped them deal with that. They were very low-level magic users, which would have made them incredibly powerful wizards for Earth in 1 AD. So they helped them deal with that, and then went back through the space-time rift back to Greyhawk. So again, I won't have a bunch of miniatures out for this one tonight, but I have a good one, and I have a good scenario in mind, and I'll tell you guys all about it after it happens. Speaking of miniatures, though, one thing I've kind of talked about this before. I've kind of talked a little bit about this before. What do you do when it comes to miniatures? Now, let me stop you before you answer. If you're one of those folks and miniatures are just cancer to you, and you're like, I hate miniatures, they ruin the game, verisimilitude, blah, 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 blah. That's fine. That's fine. I don't. I love miniatures. I love Dwarven Forge. It doesn't make D&D into a board game. All right. Board games have board-specific goals that involve the movement of the pieces. It's miniatures and terrain. The first wargaming that Gary did was that. So back off with your miniatures are bad for D&D attitudes. Mr. or ma'am. So if you do miniatures, what do you do? I've done things. You guys have watched me paint for an hour. Like paint on a miniature for an hour. Which I may go back to in the new year. I may do a couple, 2 or 3 sessions of arts and crafts. But one of the coolest things I got this a few years ago, and I've talked about them, but now that I have the little webcam set up there, I can show you guys, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on. Yeah, Vinny, you've got the right of it. They provide distance and location to help the players visualize what's going on. Boom. Mic drop. So, and they are highly effective when it comes to combat. So I'm gonna switch the camera on and find a nice place for the window for you guys to see this rather than switch over and transition over. But there are unfortunately not enough companies that do this, but you can get pre-painted metal miniatures. Now, pre-painted plastic minis abound. Pathfinder battles, D&D miniatures. D&D miniatures ran for like 14 years. You could probably fill my studio space waist high with D&D miniatures from door to wall and wall to wall. With D&D minis that are each one unique. And I love them. I used to be a metal supremacist. I'm not anymore. For cheap monsters, for reasons I've gone over before, nothing beats a good D&D mini. I need 30 kobolds. I don't want to paint 30 kobolds, even slot paint 30 kobolds. I have 30 metal kobolds. I've got like 50 or 60 metal kobolds that I'm going to slot paint. But Damien, you bring up an interesting point. And you're probably aware of this, Damien, but Reaper actually had for many years a license to make exalted miniatures, or at least character minis of iconic exalted personas. But there is a niche of pre-painted mini where some companies actually do sell pre-painted metal minis. And I've talked about this before. I have done a whole episode, but now that I've got the camera set up and the lighting's a little bit better, I want to show you guys some of these. Now, I looked at this earlier. Let me see. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I think holistic is gone, which is a shame because I'll show you guys. Yeah, holisticdesign.com. Are they still around? Yes, the beauty of having multiple monitors, I can open this up. But if you can get your hands on some of the let's see. Yeah, they did Empire of the Fading Suns and stuff like that, but I don't think they're around anymore. But I'm going to show you guys just a few of their miniatures from their miniature sets. Now, these guys were awesome. I reviewed their minis, which are generally pretty kick-ass looking, many years ago. I had their set of dwarves. I said I wanted to review. I said I have your dwarves, your pre-painted metal dwarves. Could you send me a sample of your other stuff to review for this website? Here's who I am, blah, blah, blah. They sent me a box of every mini they make. Every 5 or 6 pack of minis that they made, they sent me samples. They sent me elves. They sent me dwarves again, undead, orcs, and heroes. So I wound up with 25 absolutely gorgeous minis. And I just grabbed some of the characters. I've got one of the dwarf and 3 of the characters here. And I'm going to show these to you guys. Just pull up the control panel here and switch on. I'm going to move this over a little bit. So that got me out of the shot. Not terribly, but still. So this is one of their dwarves. And hopefully that'll come into focus. And believe it or not, that is a female dwarf. And yes, she has a beard. So they are obviously of the... Come on, focus. Focus. You gonna do it? My hand is just messing with it too much. There we go. And they come like that. Then there's this. This is a cleric with double, like, chain weapons were just huge in D&D in the early 2000s. Are they still? I don't know. See if I can get that one up in the shot. Kind of got to sneak up on the camera and make it focus. Now my hand is still causing it problems. Come on. There we go. And this is all mass produced, or was all mass produced. This is a half orc. I mean, it is. Can we get that in, please? Maybe it's because my face is in the shot. I'm trying to bring that in. It's just not working. But you can kind of get the general idea. Will that work? There we go. You know, he's got a nice pack. And they're fairly practical looking. This last one. This guy is apparently supposed to be like a paladin that has storm giant blood. This is the most ridiculous over the top mini I've ever seen, and I love it. So we can get that in. He's huge. The tip of his sword there is probably 3 inches. And he's got a bow. Just an amazing, beautiful line of miniatures that Holistic put out. But their website now appears to be defunct. But if you can lay your hands on those, if you can ever get your hands on the Holistic minis, do so. Chris says, cool half orc, but definitely not one of the 10% that looks human. No, no, definitely not. The blue coloration on him just kind of, just kind of wrecks it, doesn't it? Let's see, will that focus? Well, you guys saw him. So anyway, the company that used to be, I'm sorry, I started stating that wrong. Mirliton is an Italian miniature company that owns a lot. I almost said they used to be Grenadier. They didn't used to be Grenadier. They own a lot of the classic Grenadier molds. They sell pre-painted metal miniatures as well. Just what I've seen from the pictures, I don't think they're as good as the holistic minis. But you can't get the holistic minis anymore. There's one other company that springs to mind, and I know, again, I've gone over this before. I hate rehashing territory, but now that I've got the camera set up here, it's a little, it's kind of easier for me to do and show you guys. Before it was just like, here's a link, here's a link, here's a link. Did they still, let's see, fantasy. Yeah, they still have a line of pre-painted metal miniatures, and it looks like more and different ones now. And they have some unpainted minis also. They're not terribly expensive. In fact, let me see. Can I add the browser page and then you guys can see it? And maybe... Did that come up? There it is. All right, yeah, you guys can see that, and it's kind of green screening me out with a white background. That's not great. Let's not do that. I'm gonna, let's see. I don't think that's what that was intended for. There we go. That's what we'll do. Okay. All right. We'll just put that over my face and we'll kind of take a look at this. And I'll zoom in and you guys can kind of look at this. And judge for yourself how good these are or are not. Now, they didn't have these when I was first looking at them, but they likewise sent me a sample of their works too when I did the review. Yeah. And I don't know, are these guys plastic or are they metal? We have here, who do we have? Halfling Hero. Looks like he's holding a ring. I wonder what that could be all about. Everybody does that. And these are not terribly expensive. They may be clearing them out. It may be that they're just blowing them out. But they also, they sell sci-fi minis, fantasy minis. We have an elven, a druid with staff, half-orc drummer. Yeah, 50 pence. 50 pence for the infantry hero two-handed sword. 50 pence. That's not much. Half-orc hero, infantry hero, massive axe. Leader with sword and shield. What else do they got in there? So they have some they have some pretty amazing lines. I don't know if these are mini or if these are metal. I honestly don't know if these are all metal minis that they have, but oh, there's Facebook. Just turn that off. Turn that off. There we go. Right now I'm using WizKids minis. So yeah, there's a lot of good pre-painted minis out there. You don't have to just settle for rubbery looking or rubbery seeming character minis. Some of the character minis for um, the Pathfinder battles and stuff are okay. Some of them are just disappointingly not good looking. Um, so you kind of take it, take the good with the bad, take it as it comes. But don't let anybody tell you that minis are going to drag down the D&D game or that you're just turning it into a board game. That's silly. That's very silly. So, tomorrow, we are going to be once again live streaming. That one will also be around 9 o'clock Eastern. Links are forthcoming, fear not. But I do want to mention it is an open line Friday. We'll talk about what you guys want to talk about. Just bring it. Just bring it on in. I would love to figure out a way to like take calls or take like actual like people just like hop in to a studio chat with me, just like boom. But I don't know how to do that yet. I'll figure out how to do it. Maybe you know what? I know exactly how I'm going to do that going forward. I know exactly what I'm going to do. It'll involve StreamYard. Because StreamYard is pretty cool. But I'll have to pay for it. So that's about it. That's about what I've got tonight, guys. I'm going to be hitting the books after this, finishing up a little prep for tonight's game. I will tell you all what happened tomorrow. What happened tonight, I will tell you tomorrow. I'll tell you what happened tomorrow. Yes, I'm clairvoyant. But I'll bring it on in and clue you guys in on how the Christmas game went. So, now Vinny is, I gotta give Vinny his dues. He loves his giant dragon. The adult dragons are fantastic. We got the blue dragon, and for Christmas, I'll have the black dragon. The nice part of the size of the dragons are proportional to the minis. Okay. First of all, couple things before I go. They are beautiful. And for later D&D, absolutely. AD&D and OD&D dragons are not the size of B-52 bombers. They're not the size of Boeing 747s. They're like 18, 20 feet long. Maybe 25, maybe 30 feet. These things for D&D minis are colossal. It's like we've got a character mini this tall. And the dragon minis are like this tall. It's crazy how big they are. But proportionally, they are okay. One of these days, I'm going to do like a thrifting video. Like I will go out, I will thrift tabletop stuff for you guys to make dungeon terrain and minis and all kinds of stuff with, and I'll just bring it and I'll dump it on the table and we'll have a good crafting time and I'll make a little crafting video. So we'll talk about that then. But yeah, the dragons, the new dragons are nice. I'm not crazy about how they tend to look kind of like, not the dragons you're talking about, modern dragon design. And I know, what is a dragon supposed to look like, Bill? Tell us. I just like something that skews a little more towards the AD&D art aesthetic, as opposed to like everything is like multiple layered armor plates and it just looks kind of like looks like a big bug, as my friend Greg put it. Oh look, somebody that wants to get kicked off stream. But anyway, so yeah, we'll do some crafting and you know, I'll bring some stuff in. There's a mini. God, I'm not going to shut up. There is a mini that for a Chimera that I can't remember the name of the company. I know you've seen them in toy stores and toy departments before, but they're this German or European company anyway, and they make like horses and all kinds of wildlife and such, but they have like a fantasy line too with dragons and chimera and stuff like that. We'll have to talk about that one day as a mini possibility. But that about does it for me tonight, for real this time, guys. Thank you everyone for stopping by. I hope you're liking the new format of coming in at, you know, in the evening. Your 6 o'clock over on the West Coast, my 9 o'clock, which I don't mind doing. It's better on my day. It's better for my day. It might be Safari Limited, Vinny. We'll look at it another time. You know what? Great place to pick up tomorrow. Have a safe evening, everyone. I love you all. Thanks for stopping by. I have been your host, Bill Sylvie. Sorry about the music hiccup earlier. I'm not sorry for the music, though, because the music is awesome. We love us some Bards of Greyhawk around these parts. Y'all have a good one, and I will talk to you later. Peace out, everyone.